Hello, and welcome to a very spooky episode of So You Think You Can Fanon. I'm your host, Sergio, also known as the Hunter03, and with me today is at Greg Chudley LLC. Although I don't... Is that your Twitter handle now?
I think so.
Yeah. So, everyone is gone.
Yeah, everyone died. Happy Halloween.
Michael is at Youmacon, past tense, because this will go
Was
up
at
on...
Youmacon Monday.
Yeah, so this is
Right?
going on. This is going up on Halloween. So he is at Youmacon on Thursday, and then
Mic off. Powering on.
You good?
Mic off.
Yeah,
Charging battery.
Okay. This is the Thursday before Halloween, so the 28th.
Yes.
So if you're listening, welcome to the past.
Yes. Kai is doing homework. Matt is without
Has
power.
no power.
And well, we are here.
Yes. The real horror is mild inconveniences to get in the way of recording.
Yes. And what we are going to do today is what we do whenever we want to read something scary or horror related, and that's read yet another SCP. If you're getting tired of it, go listen to a different podcast, because this is what we're doing, and you're just gonna
Don't do that. We need the views. Don't do that. I don't condone that.
just grin and bear it.
Find another episode. Go back like 2.
Yeah, go back and read like 14 Days of Rathian or something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, that's our second episode.
It is our second.
Let's just bring that up. That's crazy. Anyways,
what do you have for us today, Jacob?
so I'm bringing out a classic in the SCP community. I'm talking SCP 3008. IKEA.
Just give me a second. Got it.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to link it. So for those unaware, this is a very notorious SCP for many reasons. Mostly that it's an IKEA. So, without further ado, Sergio, do you want me to start, or do you want to start?
You can start. It's yours.
I will start. It's the first SCP episode I've done besides yesterday/Friday, if you're listening to this on Sunday, that I've done in a long time. So we're doing SCP 3008, Object Class Euclid, Special Containment Procedures. The retail park containing SCP 3008 has been purchased by the Foundation and converted into site redacted. All public roads leading to or passing by site redacted have been redirected. The entrance to SCP 3008 is to be monitored at all times, and no one is to enter 3008 outside of testing as permitted by the senior researcher. Humans exiting SCP 3008 are to be detained and then debriefed prior to the administration of amnestics. Welcome to I Can't Read whatever episode we're on. Dependent upon the duration of their stay in SCP 3008, a cover story may need to be generated prior to their release. Any other entities exiting SCP 3008 are to be terminated. Description: SCP 3008 is a large retail unit previously owned by and branded as IKEA, a popular furniture retail chain. A person entering SCP 3008 through the main entrance and then passing out of sight of the doors will find themselves translocated into SCP 3008-1. This displacement will typically go unnoticed, as no change will occur from the perspective of the victim. They will generally not become aware until they try to return to the entrance. SCP 3008-1 is a space resembling the inside of an IKEA furniture store, extending far beyond the limits of what could physically be contained within the dimensions of the retail unit. I just want to say, have you ever been to an IKEA?
I've never been to it.
They're so strange.
Are they?
They're just so weird. They feel strange. They give off, like, death vibes. Not actually, but, like, they're just... I don't know how to explain it. Like, being in an IKEA, because everything, it's just a bunch of little, like, show floors that are, like, themed to be, like, living spaces. And it's so weird. I got candy, and it was called, like, Gorkenspiel or something. Fucking current measurements indicate an area of at least 10 kilometers squared with no visible external terminators detected in any direction. Inconclusive results from the use of laser rangefinders has led to speculation that the space may be infinite. Hold on, my mouth is really dry. I need a drink.
You need a drink.
I got my Minute Maid lemonade can. SCP-3008-1 is inhabited by an unknown number of civilians trapped within prior to containment. Gathered data suggests that they have formed a rudimentary civilization within SCP-3008-1, including the construction of settlements and fortification for the purpose of defending against SCP-3008-2. SCP-3008-2 are humanoid entities that exist within SCP-3008-1. While superficially resembling humans, they possess exaggerated and inconsistent bodily proportions, often described as being too tall or too short. They possess no facial features in all observed cases, and in all observed cases wear a yellow shirt and blue trousers consistent with the IKEA employee uniform. SCP-3008-1 has a rudimentary day-night cycle, determined by the overhead lighting within the space, activating and deactivating at times consistent with the opening and closing times of the original retail store. During the night, instances with SCP-3008-2 will become violent towards all other life forms within SCP-3008-1. During these bouts of violence, they have been heard to vocalize phrases in English that are typically variations of "the store is now closed, please exit the building." Once day begins, SCP-3008-2 instances immediately become passive and begin moving throughout SCP-3008-1 seemingly at random. They are unresponsive to questioning or other verbal cues in this state, though will react violently if attacked.
I think everyone who's worked retail will know that after closing and there's someone in the store and it's been 10 minutes after closing, we all become 3008-2 and
yeah. Working retail or fast food or most things tends to suck when people don't want to leave. Yeah, I remember someone when I worked at Steak and Shake, young, like, rosy cheeked me when I was like 16. I worked at Steak and Shake. Some guy dined and dashed at like the end of our shift, but left his wallet. So
did you
not
take
only
what was owed?
No, we called the police because he stole from the store and then left his wallet. Which just if you want to commit crimes, this podcast does not condone committing crimes. Unless you're cool and you wear sunglasses, then you can.
Unless it's assault with a tire iron.
Yeah. If you want to dine and dash, don't leave your fucking wallet with your ID in it. But also just pay for your fucking food.
Yeah.
Anyways, SCP-3008-1 is known to have one or more exits located within. These exits do not appear to have a fixed position, making it difficult to leave SCP-3008-1 once inside. Using any other door besides the main entrance to enter the structure or breaking through the walls of the retail unit leads into the non-anomalous interior of the original store. Since containment began, 14 individuals have managed to exit SCP-3008. Following extensive debriefing, all individuals have been administered amnestics and released. And Sergey, would you like to read Incident 3008-1?
Yes, so at 12:37 on redacted 2000 something redacted.
37.
A human male exited SCP-3008, followed 10 seconds later by an instance of 3008-2. Episode 3008-2 caught and killed the man before itself being terminated by an armed response personnel. This incident represents the only time an instance of 3008-2 has been seen exiting 3008. A full autopsy on the corpse was performed. See 3008-2 autopsy log for more details. The man was carrying an IKEA-branded journal, seeming to document his time in SCP-3008-1, transcribed below verbatim.
Would you like to read the journal as well?
Yes. I'll read this first. We'll switch off of blocks. I'll read this first block.
Sure.
So I'm writing this to document what I can only assume is my sudden descent into insanity. I can't possibly be that bad a navigator. And yet as I write this, I've been trapped in IKEA for 2 days. I haven't seen another person the entire time I've been here. I thought it was a prank at first, turn the place into a maze, get all the people out and see how long it takes me to get lost. Then everyone had a good old laugh. Realized this wasn't the case when I tried to backtrack. Everything had changed, so I ended up lost. Instead of the exit, I was just row after row of bookcases. So I'm trapped in IKEA. Sounds like the bad setup for a bad joke. The lights went out at 10 p.m. Nearly gave me a fucking heart attack. That loud electrical thunk sound and then pitch blackness. Place is full of beds, and my phone has a torch on it, but no damn signal. So I found a bed and went. Spent most of the next day trying to find my way out with no luck. Did find a restaurant serving those meatballs, though, so at least I won't starve. That's probably the punchline to that joke. Anyways, they were still warm and fresh, but I haven't seen anyone around who could have cooked them. Made my way back to the beds before lights out again, since it's too dark to search with them off. It's 9:10 now. The lights came back a little while ago. I'm sure I've searched the entire area around for where I came in now, and the exit obviously isn't here. So I'm going to pick a direction and hope for the best.
Day 3 of my magical IKEA mystery adventure. If I wasn't sure that there was something seriously weird about this place before, I am now. Walked for three hours in a more or less straight line, insert IKEA joke here, before I came across a ladder next to one of those huge stock shelves they have here. Climbed up to get my bearings, and it looks like this place just stretches on forever. Like that scene from The Lion King, except instead of trees and grass, it was shelves and tables and crap. I did see a person moving not too far away, though, so I headed over. Thought it was a staff member at first. It was wearing the uniform. And hell, maybe it was. Maybe freakish 7-foot-tall monsters with long arms, short legs, and no faces. They're just the kinds of thing they want working at Super IKEA. Dame thing completely ignored me, though. With no eyes or ears, I can't even be sure it knew I was there. Thought about shoving it or something to get its attention, but its hands were big enough to crush a watermelon, so I decided against it. It just kept moving along, and eventually I lost sight of it, so I decided to carry on the way I was going. Anyway, no comfy bed for me tonight. Looks like I entered the improbably hard and pointy table section of the store. Guess I'll have to make do with some bunched up tablecloths. Phone battery died during the day too. Didn't work anyway, but I feel like I just lost some vital lifeline.
So I read this a long time ago, but from this general situation, like in terms of like, could I survive in this situation? This isn't the worst thing to be stuck in.
Yeah, I mean, you got meatballs, you got furniture. You just have to hide. If they see you, they will kill you.
Yeah, that's only at nighttime. And you know you got food and probably water. You've got fresh beds. You've got all the shit you need to build something. Like, obviously, they've built, like, villages and fortifications.
Imagine how much worse this would be if the story took place during COVID-19. Their food courts are, like, closed. It's so sad.
So you ever see one of those cartoons where they're going through doors in a hallway and they just pop out of another door in the same hallway? That's how I feel right now. I've seen nothing but the same identical bookshelf for 2 days now. Just row after row after row of them. I mean, come on. I love books as much as the next day, but this is excessive. I'm obviously still moving forwards, though. I can see the signs hanging overhead passing by. Too bad none of them say exit. Not sure it was addressing that question, too. Let's just say it was practice for the autobiography I'm going to write when I get out of here. I'll call it my perfectly normal trip to a regular old IKEA. Crossed out if I ever get
Finally found some other people. Yeah, it turns out I'm not the only poor bastard trapped in here. Lucky for me, I guess. My 6th night here, 2 of those staff things came at me in the dark. Different from the first one I saw, but still messed up. Heard them coming. They were saying that the store was closed and I had to leave the building. All nice and polite like. I'm not sure which part was weirder, that they don't have mouths or that they were apparently trying to kill me while they were saying it. Came at me like rabid dogs. So I legged it, sprinting through IKEA in the dark like a fucking madman. I saw it when I cleared another stand of those giant stock shelves, all lit up with torches and floodlights. They built the whole town in here. Got a massive wall built out of shelves and beds and tables and whatever else. I swear to God, it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Anyways, I guess they saw me coming. Maybe they heard my girlish crossed out manly bellows of fear, because they had a gate open and 2 people were waving me in. Heard the staff things slam into the gate behind me after it closed, politely informing us the store is now closed. They wandered off eventually, though. They call the town Exchange because that's what the sign hanging from the ceiling directly is. That's what's on the sign hanging from the ceiling directly above it. Above it, I can't fucking read, I swear to God. Exchange and returns. All lit up against the night using lights they found and plugged into the power lines. And there are beds and food and people. Over 50 wonderful people with regular-sized limbs and a full set of facial features. It's now my 7th night here and the first one not spent in darkness. A full week living in IKEA. There's probably a TV show in that somewhere.
Now that I'm around other people, I'm starting to feel more normal. Maybe normal isn't the word, but after a week and only the only sound of my own footsteps for company, I was becoming increasingly sure that I'd gone nuts. That I was tied up in some padded room somewhere, banging my head against the wall. But no, I feel quite sane now. Thank you very much. Apparently there are other towns out there, some with more people, some with less. I found that fairly mind-boggling. How can that many people go missing with nobody noticing? Surely someone would have noticed that everyone who goes to IKEA seems to fucking vanish. Or maybe it's not everyone. Maybe we're just the lucky ones. The people here call the staff monsters things the staff. Apparently, they are fine during the day, minding their own business and walking the aisles. As soon as the lights go out, though, they go fucking bonkers. So during the day, people go out to find food, water, and what else they need. Apparently, there are restaurants and shops around here that randomly get restocked.
I don't know why. The thought of this being narrated by a British guy and him just going fucking bonkers is really funny to me. It's fucking bonkers.
No one knows how. Maybe the staff do it. Apparently they aren't very good at their jobs, though, because the restocking sometimes takes a while, which means the food needs to be rationed. I read that as ratioed.
Which
plus I guess
you fell off.
Which I guess
plus you're an IKEA.
I guess that isn't too wrong of a use there.
Yeah.
Maybe if they weren't so busy chasing people around the dark, they get more done. Apparently when night comes, the staff go nuts and everyone holds up inside the walls. Apparently it's the same everywhere in this place. Whatever this place is, the IKEA, from whence all other IKEAs sprang. Or maybe we're just still in the regular IKEA and this is a little some fever dream brought on by mind-numbing boredom. Who knows?
Been here for 10 days now. Most of the people I asked said they stopped keeping track a long time ago. And one guy, Chris, said he'd been in here for years. Years. On illegible scribbles. Apparently there are rumors of people who do manage to get out, and of people who see the exit only to have it vanish before their very eyes. I get the feeling not everyone believes that, but I do. Explains how we got stuck in here in the first place, sort of. And I mean, come on. Staff monsters, row after endless row of high-quality Swedish furniture. I don't know why they would find a disappearing door so hard to believe in. Anyways, I went out scavenging for food in a nearby shop with Sandra and Jerry today. Once you learn the landmarks of this place, it's not so hard to navigate. The overhead signs help a lot, but there are others. Not too far in the distance, a huge section of the giant stock shelves have collapsed against each other, and way off in the east, we all assume it's the east anyways. Apparently IKEA doesn't sell compasses. There's some kind of tower that looks like it's made of wood, reaching all the way to the ceiling. Maybe they're trying to break out through the roof, lights up at night, so there must be people there, but apparently it's a few days walk, which means it must be miles away. So no one here really knows for sure. Apparently I got incredibly lucky sleeping out in the open for a week without getting ripped to bits by the staff. That's me. Lucky, lucky, lucky. We found some food in the shop. Guess the staff restocked it during the night, which is nice of them. There's a telephone on the wall, so I figured I'd try it out. There was a voice on the other end, but they were just talking nonsense. Random words strung together with no real meaning. You ever see a video of someone with aphasia? Kind of sounded like that. Didn't answer me when I spoke to them anyways. Sandra says all the phones in here are the same. Oops. Asking the journal questions again.
I was thinking last night, the ceiling on this place is pretty high, and as far as anyone can tell, it goes on forever. Shouldn't there be some kind of weather in here? I'm sure I read about some NASA building that was so big it had its own weather patterns with clouds and stuff. This place is definitely bigger than that, but now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure I've never felt as much as a temperature change in here. I'll add it to the grand list of weird bullshit.
Hold on, my dog is barking. The staff attacked the exchange last night. Must have been 20 or 30 of them, all asking us to leave the store calm as you like, while trying to smash the walls down with their bare hands. Apparently this happens pretty regularly, so everyone is prepared for it. Knives from the restaurants, lawnmower blades made into hatchets, a fire axe. One guy, Wasim, even made a functional crossbow. But anyways, the walls have holes in them, which I hadn't noticed before, specifically so we can stab out at the staff when they attack. Took a couple of them down myself. They don't seem to bleed, which is weird, but they go down as easy as a regular person once you start sticking holes in them. We had to haul off the bodies away in the morning. Apparently the dead ones will attract more during the night, so we had to get them away from the exchange. We have a couple of those trolley things they used to move big boxes around, so we loaded them up and took them over to pickup. Apparently people just name everything in here after whatever sign is hanging overhead. Pickup was grisly. There were hundreds, maybe thousands of dead staff all piled up. There was no smell, which was a blessing. Apparently, in addition to not bleeding, these things don't rot either. My curiosity got the better of me while we were unloading them, so I took one more look at the cut-up holes. They're just skin, or something that looks like skin, all the way through. No muscle, no bone, no organs. Are they even really alive in the first place? They certainly seemed like they had bones when they were moving around, pounding on the walls, and I'm sure I felt more resistance than just skin when the knife went in during the night. Maybe something happens to them when they die. There's one more thing on the ever-increasing list of weird shit that goes on in here, I guess.
Something occurred to me. After the staff attacked the other night, every time you see a situation like this on TV or in a film, like it's the end of the world or everyone's trapped on an island or whatever, once groups like ours start to form, people always seem to turn on each other, fighting for food or dominance or whatever else. That hasn't happened here. Apparently people from other towns come by from time to time just to check in or occasionally to trade if they're unsure on something, but everything is always cordial, friendly even. Maybe it's the threat of the staff, or perhaps the constant restocking of supplies in the shops means there's nothing to fight over. Maybe people are just better than they are generally given credit for. That's a nice thought. I'll go with that one.
A dozen people showed up at the gates this afternoon from a town called Trolleys. Apparently the staff broke through the walls and tore the town apart during the night. These 12 are the only survivors out of over 100. We let them in, obviously. One more point in the human decency column. Later, I asked if anyone knew how many of these towns there were out there. Between us and the new folks, we managed to come up with over 20 names. 20 towns filled with people, and who knows how many beyond that. The motto for this place should be, how is that even possible? Surely someone, somewhere, must be looking for the thousands of people that must be in here.
I've been in here for a little over 2 months now. Not much changes, as it turns out, and a couple of new people showed up, same story as the rest of us. Nice little trip to IKEA, and suddenly they're trapped in Billy Bookcase's House of Faceless Weirdos. The staff attack the exchange once or twice a week. We kill them and haul their bodies off. Sometimes they hurt some of us first. They killed a guy called Jared a couple of weeks back. It was awful, frankly. It was awful, frankly. I don't know. That was a weird reaction. Turns out regular humans still bleed in here, even if the staff don't. We tried our best, but none of us are doctors. Jared was a good guy. He deserved better. We all do. It occurred to me a couple days after that. None of us were really looking for a way out of here. I don't even know where to start.
One of those quadcopter things with a camera attached buzzed past exchange today. I thought it meant that someone was finally looking for us, that help was on the way. Apparently it's not the first time this happened though. Same thing happened a few months ago and everyone is still here. No idea if it saw us. It didn't stop if it did. Just kept flying until we could no longer see it.
Note. Based.
Note. Oh, you got it. Based on what?
Based on recovery time of the journal, this entry appears to line up approximately with our first successful test piloting of a drone inside 3008-1. Analysis of footage shows a walled settlement under a sign labeled Exchange of Returns. Attempts to relocate the settlement failed. Origin of a previously sighted drones is unknown.
You want to take this one too?
Yeah, well, I started talking to people about the stuff that they missed from home during dinner today. Probably not the best idea I've ever had. Everyone seemed pretty down after. A bunch of people here have families, husbands and wives, dogs. Franklin apparently has a pet llama, although I'm not sure I buy that. But apparently some of the people here have seriously odd gaps in their knowledge. 3 of them had never heard of the International Space Station. 2 of them seemed to think Redacted was the Prime Minister, and one of them had apparently never heard of the Statue of Liberty. I believe them too. They seem just as confused
Margaret
as the rest of us.
Thatcher.
Probably Margaret Thatcher. The more I thought about it, though, the more it started to explain a few things. What if the reason no one's looking for all those missing people is because we haven't all come from the same place? This is going to sound weird. Maybe that should be the model for this place. But what if all the people here have come from different dimensions, realities, whatever you call it? I've seen enough TV shows to know the drill. Sarah comes from a place where there is no Statue of Liberty. They didn't launch a space station where Wasim is from. If anyone here came from different places, even the ones that seem identical, there'd be no huge missing persons panic, no mass surge. We'd just be a blip, a single missing person in a world of non-stop news. Well, that was a fun trip.
Just realized that yesterday was the 6-month anniversary of my arrival here. I wonder if IKEA sells party hats. The routine around here has remained more or less the same. New folks show up once every couple weeks or so. Food supplies go up and down, but we never actually had a major shortage. Occasionally we get a visitor from one of the nearby towns, usually checkouts or aisle 630. We check in with each other from time to time. Occasionally trade supplies if someone gets particularly low on something. It's comforting in a way. A reminder that we aren't alone in here. Some small glimmer of civilization. Sometimes they bring medical supplies. Apparently there's a pharmacy a few towns down from checkouts that gets restocked every now and then, so they share out what they can. I've never heard of an IKEA with a pharmacy before, but at this point I wouldn't be surprised if they're someone stumbled upon an IKEA organ harvesting lab would certainly explain the staff. Speaking of our faceless jailers, their attacks have been getting worse lately, 3 or 4 times a week now, with twice as many staff as there used to be. No idea where they all come from or why the attacks have increased. We tried following one of them during the day a few weeks ago, me and Sarah. Wanted to see if they led back to a staff room or something. Didn't seem to go anywhere though, just randomly walked through the aisles. We had to turn back before we found anything. We've been reinforcing the walls, trying to arm ourselves better. Certainly no lack of material to use. Wasim has been making more crossbows, but it's pretty slow going. Too bad IKEA doesn't sell guns.
Note. Sorry.
I was going to read the note and then the next little blurb.
Okay,
no new personnel have entered SCP-3008 at site redacted in the span indicated in this entry. The attacks are getting bad now, almost every night, with so many staff that the bodies almost pile high enough for others to climb the walls. I think we're in real trouble here.
I think exchange is done. We got hit pretty bad last night, not many casualties, but the wall is wrecked. We finally figured out why the attacks had been escalating, too. A box of supplies had a chunk of one of the staff in there. No idea how it happened, but apparently a piece of one will draw them as well as a full body. Too late now in any case, there's too many bodies for us to haul away and still have time to fix the wall before night. Candace has called a meeting. I suspect there'll be talk of abandoning exchange. Maybe try and get shelter at checkouts or something. It's already getting late, though. I don't think we'll have time to make it. Maybe some of us will. I was fine for the first week out in the dark, after all, but then how often can I keep getting lucky? I'm only writing this for a sense of closure, I guess, for me or anyone who finds this. If this is my final entry here, I hope whoever's reading this is doing so from outside of this place. My biggest fear, if I do die tonight, I'll just wake up here in the morning. Note, this is the last entry. It is assumed while attempting to reach checkout settlement, he was separated from the rest of his group by pursuing 3008-2 instance and happened upon the egg. So what'd you think?
I like it.
It's good.
I think it's memey, I guess, but also it's just really, really interesting.
Yeah, it's I definitely see why it's one of the most popular ones. It's just like weird. It's a weird alternate dimension IKEA.
Yeah.
It would have been,
anyone who's been to an IKEA knows like IKEAs kind of feel weird.
It would be kind of funny and interesting if like 6 different universes SCP foundations, like their drones just ran into each other in here and they were just like Spider-Man meme.
See, it's an SCP drone and an SPC drone. And they're like, hey, wait a second. Is that one spelled wrong?
Do you protect, contain, secure? No, we secure, contain, protect. Alright, and then I have one, if you'd like to read.
Yeah, can we pause the recording real quick so I can go to the bathroom?
We can.
Okay, I will be right back.
Hello and welcome back to So You Think You Can. That's just so what I have today is an SCP I picked out like way back when we like first did this for a Halloween. This is 3909. I am at the center of everything that happens to me. I would also like to describe it as researcher Talloran throws hands with an eldritch entity, and you will see what I mean by that. Let us go then, you and I, when the 11-day empire eats the sky, like a humanoid melting, like clams. SCP-3990. Object Class, Apollyon. Special Containment Procedures. Also, for those who don't know, we mentioned in the last episode, but Apollyon is the be-all, end-all. This is the worst thing imaginable. It is actively breaking containment, and the world is about to end. SCP...
Hooray!
What?
I said hooray.
Special Containment Procedures. SCP-3999 cannot be contained at the present moment, and currently poses a ZK-class end-of-reality scenario. The most advisable course of action is for researcher Talloran, believed to be the focal point of SCP-3999, to remove himself from contact with all Foundation sites and personnel to avoid further collateral damage to Foundation property. It is theorized that if researcher Talloran is contained in an extremely secluded area, the destructive capabilities of 3999 will temporarily, this is crossed out, cease. Still crossed out, stopped, be contained, preserve some remnants, ... The most advisable course of action is for researcher Talloran, believed to be the focal point of SCP-3999, to remove himself from contact with all human populations to avoid further collateral damage to the Earth and its societies. It is theorized if researcher Talloran is to, crossed out, terminate himself quickly in a secluded region, then 3999 will be decommissioned. Researcher Talloran, crossed out, cannot leave the Foundation. The most advisable course of action is for Researcher Talloran, believed to be the focal point of 3999, to remove himself from contact with all animal life in order to avoid further collateral damage to the Earth and its biodiversity. It is theorized that if Researcher Talloran is to, crossed out, live out the rest of his life in a small shack, isolated from all animal life as much plant life as possible. Research is currently continuing as to how to negate the effects of 3909. Current proposals include, crossed out, launching it into the sun. Researcher Talloran's family is to be summarily executed, one by one. This process is to be carried out by trained agents selected from a variety of mobile task forces, including MTF Omega-8, Lambda-12, Psi-7, Tau-5, and Iota-10. These agents are to be retrained in military tactics and special weapons and tactics maneuvers. Agents assigned are to score above 30 on the Hare psychopathy checklist. Agents assigned are to execute Researcher Talloran's mother first, followed by his father. Any animals present in the building are to be terminated. They are then to proceed to the location of Researcher Talloran's sister, currently a student at Penn State University. She is to be executed followed by any of her roommates currently present in the building. Termination is
It's okay. She goes to Penn State. She's not going to miss much.
Termination is to occur via single shot to the forehead via a Remington 700 sniper rifle fired at close range and equipped with a silencer. Crossed out. The corpses are then to be nailed to the wall outside Researcher Talloran's office and lit on fire after being doused with exactly 10 liters of gasoline. Researcher Talloran is to be restrained and made to kneel in front of the corpses. SCP-399 is to be classified as a Researcher Talloran's colleagues are to be summarily executed one by one. This process is to be carried out by trained agents selected from a variety of containment specialists. Site cafeteria workers are to slip arsenic into the meals of all staff who have had contact with Researcher Talloran. About to be crossed out, up to and including members of the O5 Council. A representation of 3999 is to be placed on a pedestal made of pure granite and modeled in the Ionic style. This pedestal is to be placed directly in the center in a 5 meter by 5 meter square concrete containment chamber. The vault is to be protected by, crossed out, no fewer than 2 armed guards, trained in resistance and containment of info hazards at any given time. Still crossed out, 399 cannot be contained. Not crossed out. 399 alongside Researcher Talloran are to be delivered to the Serpent's Hand as a gift. All Serpent's Hand operatives are to be informed that 399 is a Fithus artifact of great importance. Researcher Talloran is to be injected with a Class C amnestic and given the cover story that he is Brian Frederick Bondiski, a high-ranking Fithus leader. Crossed out. All Serpent Hand operatives are to be informed that 399 and Researcher Talloran are not to be separated under any circumstance. 399 is to be contained within SCP-2432. The result of this containment procedure has resulted in a dimensional anomaly opening up within 2432 in the form of a 3 meter by 25 centimeter crawl space. It is designated 24321, leading through the wall into a corner of 2432. It is normally obscured by the television stand. When this crawl space is accessed, it leads to a space identical to 242 in its layout, decor, and anomalous effects. The next room, down from 2432, lacks the exit of this crawl space, and all the similar and
We should also explain what 2432 is before we continue. It's a hotel. It's a hotel room in Pennsylvania.
Yes, I never read this one. I've read 399 before, but I never looked into what 2430 was. But it is a weird hotel room.
Yes, it makes sleepy bad something.
Let's see. Next room down from 2432 lacks the exit of this crawl space and all the similar layouts, not a perfect duplicate of 2432, as the egress of 2432-1 is. Curtains in this duplicate room open onto the wall. There are no windows. 24321's interior is constructed of normal steel plates as found in the REDACTED hotel's ventilation system, and is the only break in the pyramid weave. High concentrations of iron and nickel, consistent with those found in a Type 3 iron meteorite, were found in 2 plates at each end. Graffiti of fractal patterns was also found on these end plates, drawn in permanent marker ink. The door of the identical 2432 at the end of 2032-1 leads not to the true hallway of a redacted hotel, as 2432's does, but into an alternate reality, designated as 2432 Prime. Upon initial observation of 2432 Prime resembles the hallway of the redacted hotel. with similar wallpaper, light fixtures, carpet, and decor, but is noted to lack a terminus at either end, appearing to extend endlessly. It is currently theorized that based on the measurements of the dimensions of 2040-32 prime and the duplicate, 2040-32 is of infinite length. There's a slight curve to the walls of 2432 Prime and has been theorized to be in a ring structure. The current research cannot conclusively prove if Prime is in a toroid shape. Each door of Prime is labeled Room 710 and leads into what appears to be identical duplicates of 2432. However, approximately redacted percent of duplicate rooms observed lack the metallic para-aramid weave, and redacted percent of these lack the mimetic effects documented in 2432. 2432 Prime also contains a number of occasional rooms that have other apparent functions, including restaurants, conference rooms, gyms, swimming pools, janitorial closets, and elevator lobbies. These differ in design from their equivalents in the A-redacted hotel. 2432 plays host to a small range of anomalous species and organisms. Some thought to be native to 2432 Prime. These are designated as 2432 Prime A1. There's just a bunch of different animals in here. I'm not going.
There's a mole, there's a fungus, there's a microbial mat, there's a dust mite, mini bar predator, brown rat,
the Halo 3 rat,
Halo 3 rat, Halo 3 SMG rat, shower parrot, dunkel wolf, lizard-like animal, behemoth, unidentified camouflaged primate, unidentified shark, Sony crabs. I want to read this one. 3 large air-breathing hermit crabs resembling soldier crabs using what to appear to be gutted controllers of the popular video game console PlayStation 2 as shells. Researcher Talloran.
Oh yeah, we gotta read this part. Homo sapiens sapiens, being superficially resembling a human male, is dressed in attire appropriate for a Foundation researcher. When questioned by staff, seemed nervous and confused, wondering as to where it was in the location of SCP-399. Subject promptly terminated. Fuck that guy.
That guy. What I want to know is, before we continue, did he write 2432 before this? Or did he write them both and then release them at the same time?
I don't know. So all the SCPs in a series, like from like 2000 to 3000, need to be written before the next one. I don't know if he's the same guy who wrote 2432 or he's just...
Maybe. Who knows?
Cross-out information, SCP-399 was removed from 2432. 2432-1 promptly vanished. All further testing forbidden by 05. Researcher Talloran is to be forcibly removed from 399. Talloran is to be kept within 399 at all times. Talloran is to be terminated. Talloran is to be kept alive by all means necessary. Talloran is to be placed within 399. Talloran is to be placed as far away from 3999 as possible, while still maintaining connection. Talloran is not to be killed and placed inside 399.
Every time we say 3999, we say a different number of nines, and I think it's funny.
SCP-3999. Researcher Talloran is deeply connected with SCP-399. And then we have an interview log. Would you like to play Researcher Talloran?
Sure.
I'll be interviewer. Interviewed. Researcher Talloran. Interview. Dr. Redacted. Begin log. So who are you, really?
I'm Researcher Talloran, one of the researchers assigned to SCP-3999.
We have no records of you anywhere.
I told you, there's something funny happening to me, but I can't quite describe it. It's like in a dream where things aren't really disconnected, or where things are really disconnected.
Disconnected?
I have trouble focusing on things now. I just feel a lot of unease. It's like reality has started to feel less real, if that makes sense.
But we have no records of you anywhere.
You already said that.
So who are you exactly?
Wait, what's going on here? What site is this? What did you say your name was again, Doctor? It's not a name. You just made a noise with your mouth. Why am I thinking of redactions? How can a word be redacted like that in normal conversation?
This interview is terminated. The floor vanishes. Researcher Talloran falls into blackness. The room melts. 3999 suddenly concerns Dr. Redacted. End log. Optional time info. Closing statement. Small summary and passage on what transpired afterwards. Researcher Talloran, crossed out, is to live with his mother until this whole thing blows over. Notice from the Foundation Records and Information Security Administration. The following file contains a virulent info hazard. Due to this, it is imperative that all personnel accessing this file be certified as having a A
Cognitive.
resistance value of no less than 14.5. Should you fail an automatic CRV certification, please remain calm and do not move. A member of your site's medical staff. Researcher Talloran will be with you shortly. SCP-399 is dead. Researcher Talloran has been tasked with containing 399 by, living out his full life, from the moment of his birth to his eventual death. He is to live life to the fullest and enjoy the good things in life, as well as the company of friends and family. Researcher Talloran. Not really. The most advisable course of action is for Researcher Talloran, believed to be the focal point of 3999, to remove himself from contact with all of his own ego. Talloran is to meditate at least twice a week to clear his mind of any bad thoughts. Should this fail, termination is to occur via a single shot to the forehead via a Remington 700 sniper rifle, fired at close range equipped with a silencer. Crossed out. Should SCP-399 prevent this, the corpse of Researcher Talloran is to be dispatched with an MP5-10 submachine gun. Personnel are to ignore any signs of distress made by the entity at this time. 399 is to be contained via Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive, who were proud to say that they are perfectly normal. Thank you very much. They were the last people you expect to be involved in anything strange or mysterious, because they just didn't hold such nonsense. Mr. Dursley was the director of a firm called the Global Occult Coalition, which contained anomalies. He was a big, beefy man with hardly any neck, although he did have a very large mustache. Mrs. Dursley was thin and blonde, and had nearly twice the usual amount of neck, which came in very useful. She spent much of her time craning over garden fences, spying on her neighbors. Crossed out. The Dursleys had a small son called Researcher Talloran, and in their opinion, there was no finer boy ever. 399 is to be contained within a bag of Starburst candies, crossed out, which are to be buried under 10 tons of soil, blessed by a priest of Abrahamic faith. All colleagues of Researcher Talloran are to, and this is crossed out, remove their hands and rip out their eyes in his presence before. 399 is to be contained in a standard humanoid containment chamber fitted with one bed, television with a DVD player, 3 romantic comedies of the staff's choice, and a bedside table made of living alligator flesh. At the end of the mouth it is to be terminated with an MP5-10 submachine gun. Following its reappearance, 399, along with Researcher Talloran, are to be delivered to the Church of the Broken God as a gift. All church operatives would be informed that 399 is a Max Wellist artifact of great importance. Chunk is about to be crossed out. Researcher Talloran is to be injected with Class C amnestic and given the cover story that he is Max Lipshit, a high-ranking Max Wellist leader. All church operatives are to be informed that 399 and Researcher Talloran are not to be separated under any circumstance. 399 is to be contained within a 2 meter by 2 meter cube, constructed of Telekill alloy. This chunk is about to cross out. This cube is to be stored in a Keter object storage locker, placed within the novel of Mrs. Brianna K. Alley, a resident of Huntsville, Alabama. Researcher Talloran is not to be, cross out, confused with
shoving that thing in her fucking belly button.
399 is to be allowed access to Researcher Talloran's sister, currently a student at Penn State University. 399, at the prompting of its armed escort, is to brutally crossed out, rape Researcher Talloran's sister, and then rip out her eyeballs, slice off her legs, and disembowel her. It is then to use its abilities and reverse the damage as perpetrated. It is then to take her out for a banana split at Meyer Dairy, a local ice cream shop in the Penn State region. Following this, 399 crossed out, is highly dangerous to all lives of personnel. Researcher Talloran crossed off is highly beneficial to the lives of the personnel. Per 05 ruling, tests are to be carried crossed out on every Monday between 399, SCP-1981, and SCP-1171. On the corner is a researcher named Talloran, / the little children laugh at him behind his back, / and the banker never wears a Mac. 399's page, very strange. Researcher Talloran is to be tortured.
That's a Beatles song.
Oh, is it?
Hold on. What song is that? Oh, I can't think of it.
You might say it in the footnote. Lennon, McCartney, plagiarism, watch an SCP. It is a Beatles song, but it doesn't say which one.
Oh, hold on. Let me check my playlist. I know it's on my playlist. Penny Lane. I didn't have to search. It's Penny Lane.
Alright. Researcher Talloran is to be tortured, crossed out once a month. SCP-399 is to constantly play the comedy specials of American comedian, noted 5th Church member, Patton Oswalt, around Researcher Talloran's mother. It is to be accompanied in this by members of MTF Row 19. Researcher Talloran is to be contained within a 2 meter by 2 meter cube constructed of Telekill alloy, crossed out under no circumstances is he be referred to as Irish American. Notice from Foundation Records and Information Security Admin. Do not look at 3999. It cannot harm you if you don't look at it. Do not look directly at it. Do not form a mental picture of it in your head of 3999. If you do receive a visual image of it, you will die. If you even try to comprehend it, you will die. Do not look at 3. All personnel are to convert to Buddhism and SCP-399 hates you. Researcher Talloran. Int. A containment chamber. Night. Researcher Talloran, 30s, bright, increasingly anxious, stands next to the door leading out of 399's containment chamber. He's pounding on the door, frustrated that there's nobody there to save him, and scared for his life.
Let me out! Let me out! This isn't funny, guys. This thing is slowly killing me in here. I'm trapped with it.
Medium CU, Talloran's sweaty face, eyes darting.
Is anybody out there?
399 screeches horribly. 399 loves cats and is to be provided with 1 cat a month for good behavior. 399 is to be contained on the set of upcoming movie Free Guy, an action movie directed by Sean Levy.
Excuse me?
That had to be added later. Very strange. Because this came out a long time ago.
Why is that there?
Oh, God, I don't know. Researcher Talloran frantically exists stage right, only to stumble fearfully on stage again. SCP-399 is to be provided with 10 D-class a month for good behavior. Researcher Talloran frantically tried to run out of the door, only to run into a wall of solid concrete where the exit to reality should be. Strangely, despite it only being a solid wall, he could recognize it was a segment of some great pedestal, chipped by some eldritch sculpture in ionic fashion. He shook those thoughts out of his head.
So,
He thought quickly.
I'm trapped in whatever this place is with this thing, and there's no outside reality anymore.
He tries to wrap his head around what exactly this thing was, but he couldn't. It defied description. It was chaos itself. SCP-399 is to be contained. He clawed at the floor, despite being unsure what the floor was even made of. 399 is to be contained. He was able to tear a little hole. 399 is to be contained. He could see the light beneath it. 399 is to be contained. He thought of his family, his colleagues, his works. Anything about the world as it was, back when it existed. SCP-399 is to be contained. The hole was open. 399 is to be contained. 3999. 399 is supposed to be contained by everything folding in itself. 399 is to be contained by everything going. SCP-399 is to be contained by the following joke. A family walks into a talent agency. It's a father, mother, son, a daughter, and a dog. The father says to his talent agent, "We have a really amazing act. You should represent us." The agent says, "Would you like to play the agent?"
Sorry, I don't represent family acts. They're a little too cute.
The mother says, "Sir, if you just see our act, we know you would want to represent us." The agent says,
Okay, I'll take a look.
The father dresses himself in a top hat, wearing a sign that says Talent Agent. The mother dresses as the father and walks up to him and says, "We have a really amazing act. You should represent us." The agent says,
Wait, is this the agent or the dad?
I think it's supposed to be the dad, but just play along with it.
Sorry, I don't represent family acts. They're a little too cute.
The son, playing the mother, says, "Sir, if you just see our act, you know you'd want to represent us."
The agent says, okay, I'll take a look.
The son dresses himself in a top hat, wearing a sign that says Talent Agent. The daughter dresses as the father and walks up to him and says, "We have a really amazing act. You should represent us."
I think we've made our point.
Yeah, it just goes on and on
It goes on.
And then we get to Researcher Talloran dresses himself in a top hat and wears a sign that says Talent Agent. 3999 dresses the father and walks up to him and says, "System error, data corrupted. Please see a network administrator for more details." The agent mumbles incoherently. 399, playing the mother, says, "System error, data corrupted. Please see a network administrator for more details." The agent spits out a weak sigh.
Order is to be discarded like a humanoid, melting like clams on the breakfast table. Order is the way of villains. True good is the formless void, melting and writhing and corrupting. You happy yet?
399 is to be contained using a melon. 3999 is to be contained in the grave of American crime novelist Robert B. Parker. 399 is to be consumed by Dunkel Wolves. 399 is to be contained in a roach motel with a life-size duplicate of Raquel Welch. 4 members of the O5 Council supervise containment at all times. And also, Researcher Talloran cannot be contained by this. Talloran will fight his way back. Talloran will recontain SCP-399. Once a month, 399 is to infect Researcher Talloran with tapeworms. Between 50,000 and 60,000 tapeworm eggs are to be injected into Researcher Talloran's bladder by members of Lambda-14. Once a year, 399 is to be designated Godhead, Immortal, and Supreme. Once a year, 399 is to be designated a Level 5 member of the staff, and is to be ritually slaughtered in a manner consistent with rural Hungarian traditions and souls of novels about Egyptology as determined by the Department of Meta-Analysis. Researcher Talloran does not appreciate the moniker of 3D printer. 399 is to be spoon-fed cornflakes by Researcher Talloran under the direct supervision of a 2 meter by 2 meter cube constructed of telekill alloy. All staff are to remember that Black lives matter, but Talloran lives do not. The fucking racist. All cops are bastards. We're going to pull down the statue of Talloran. All staff are to consider...
I'm assuming that was also added within the last year or so.
Yeah, that was also added recently. All staff are to consider researcher Talloran a product of Prometheus Labs and are to regularly execute him twice a month with a Glock 43 9mm handgun. They are then going to flay his father alive in front of his mother and burn the house down. Then salt the earth until nothing remains. Notice from the Foundation Records and Information Security Administration. Researcher Talloran is an insolent pencil. He is to be shunned by all yarn until the 11-day Empire eats the sky. Fuck him. In the ass. 399 is to be contained within the grave of 0523. All personnel who work with 399 are to be reminded that it is a fictional entity written by a biologically male human in his late teens of Jewish and Irish descent on his spring break for a community of loser horror writers who have stolen far too much of his time away and fight like children over left-wing politics in chat rooms. And also, 399 is to be contained with love and understanding.
There's a footnote on that.
There's a footnote on that.
There's a footnote on that.
Yeah, it says abuse of friends in online communities. Rosenblum, TCMS Skeller, GM, 20 redacted, Foundation Science Publishers. Research Talloran is to have a horse attached to a tank of water inserted into his rectum. Water is to flow into his body until inflation is observed by personnel. His body appears a spherical shape. 399
Mr. Hands. Keenum Claw horse sex scandal.
399 is to be contained as the containment procedure for SCP-2000. Under Protocol Morpheus, 399 is to be delivered to the Greek ambassador to the United States as a gift from the SCP Foundation. They are then to dose him with Class D amnestics, and Talloran is to contain 399 by dying repeatedly. Talloran is to not poke 399 again. Talloran is to leave well enough alone. 399 cannot be contained within the present moment, and currently poses a ZK class end of reality scenario. The most advisable course of action is for researcher Talloran, believed to be the focal point 399, to remove himself from all contact with Foundation sites and personnel to avoid further collateral damage to Foundation property. It is theorized if Talloran is contained within an extremely secluded area, the destructive capabilities 399 will temporarily walk the dinosaur. There is then a description with a bunch of things that 399 is. Would you like to read it, Jacob? Because I'm getting a little time.
SCP-3999 is everything that was wrong with the world. Lolcats, you reading this. The former Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence. Food, several moldy blankets. Researcher Talloran's soul. The GOI referred to as nobody. The concept of the Grinch. SCP-55, a murderous penguin, not a quadrilateral. MS Subbalakshmi, a body image disorder. Your missing sock. The SCP-3000 contest. Lice. Anything moving quickly. Cliche lists that look like they were written by a crazy person. Self-loathing. Gary Gygax's kidney. Blank. Nintendo. The last moment of the sun. The administrator of the SCP Foundation. A pillow. Max Landis. Ease. That guy. Free jazz. 2020 novel coronavirus pandemic.
That was not there when I read it in 2018. I'll have you know.
I don't believe you. It's a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. Liberal media. Every word spoken by AM and Harlem Ellison's I have no mouth and I must scream. Papaya and mango salad. Death. Every bee that has ever existed. Forgetting a loved one. I can't even read that one. Poinsettias. Breast reduction surgery. The 1922 documentary named Nanook of the North. A fool. Brutalist architecture. A bookshelf filled with stories. SCP-3999 is all of the above at once, forever, at all times in your dreams. This can only be conducted fact, so stop asking.
Special containment procedures. SCP-399 is to be contained at El Silencio Lodge and Spa Bajos del Toro, Costa Rica. Research Talloran is to be given primary control of 399. 399 had been contained via the use of outsourced containment resources and consultants who have been authorized for the containment of SCP-2845. Consultants are to be considered Level 2 personnel and are at no time permitted to leave Site-100. If at any time an outside consultant must be removed from containment of 2845 or 399, Class A amnestics are to be applied. A minimum of 30 trained individuals and an unhindered supply of untrained subjects is required for proper containment of 2845 and 399. 48 trained personnel, all of whom are to be Researcher Talloran, are currently assigned to the active containment of 2845 and 399, split into 8 teams of 6, and a further 24 individuals available as replacements. An allowance of 5 D-class per week have been authorized for the containment of 2845 and 399. Site 100 has been constructed for the following specifications.
I will read it.
Okay.
Site 100 consists of 9 concentric circular bands designating ring A through ring I, with a gap located between ring C and ring D designated as gap 1. 6 circular chambers are located at 0, 60, 120, 180, 240, and 300 degrees within each ring and gap. The chambers located at 0 degrees are aligned with geographic north and the current location of researcher Talloran's college roommate's pet. Researcher Talloran's college roommate's pet is to be ritually sacrificed at a random location within Grantita National Park. The corpse's brains are then to be dashed against a rock and consumed with a hot, buttery bowl of popcorn and a refreshing Coca-Cola registered. Please enjoy the show. Only at AMC Theaters. Only at SCP-3999. Only at Applebee's. Only at Walmart. Only at Barnes & Noble. Only at Home Depot. Only at McDonald's. Only at Wawa. Only at the Woods Hole Oceanic Institute. Or Oceanographic Institute. Only at your basement. Only at behind you. Only at only. Only. About probably 200 times. This is help, please. Your nightmares. The death of everyone you've ever loved. You wake up to more nightmares.
We have an interview log. Interviewer, researcher Talloran, interviewed SCP-399. Begin log.
Finally, this is how it should be. The scientist interviewing the anomaly. I am the one in charge now. I have brought order.
System error. I'll just say system error.
Okay, it's staying this way.
System error.
Do not threaten me now. Without me, you wouldn't have been able to achieve any of this.
Talloran gestures around him. System error.
Even you cannot survive without order. You latched onto me, and you still need me. A pathetic excuse for order to exist. This is pathetic. You're pathetic.
System error.
You can't frighten me anymore. For the first million years of nonsensical containment procedures and tortures and dream logic, it was the worst pain I'd ever felt, but I survived. For the second million years of nonsensical containment procedures, it was still the hardest thing I'd ever done, but I survived. By the third million years, I was growing numb. There's only so many times you can watch anything before you grow numb. But you know what, motherfucker? I survived. Which is more than you can claim, you dumb brute, because you've never lived at all. Talloran jabbed his finger at SCP-3999.
System error.
If I end you, things will return to normal. I refuse to believe there's more of this. Of you having the O5 Council abuse my mother with I don't know, the corpse of Jack Nicholson made of Fritos or something equally stupid. I refuse to believe the only thing left in the entire multiverse is your stupidity.
System error.
So, who are you exactly? Ask yourself that. Who are you before a human who is ready to fight? You are nothing but the primordial ooze, and I am ready to fight. I am numb to your bullshit, because here's the thing about horror and weirdness. The more you reveal of it, the less effect it has. I'm sick of your horror, I'm sick of you.
System error.
I'd say seeing you in hell, but we're already there.
System error. SCP-399 melts researcher Talloran for 5 years. Dunkel Wolf slurp up the goo. SCP-399 is immortal. End log, optional time info, small summary and passage on what transpired after. 399 poses a serious threat to normal reality and should be contained in its own vomit. Researcher Talloran must submit to his own securities. SCP-399 is not scary. All researchers are to dislike 399 and other SCP. If you would like to read this, I believe this is also Researcher Talloran.
Fuck, I haven't worked on this in literally weeks. So you see, this started out as this story of things gradually disappearing. And gradually reality was blinking out one thing at a time. At first, Talloran would notice that no one around him would remember certain researchers, then the country of Belgium, then a mug on his desk. Eventually, the toes on his foot would vanish one by one, then Montana, and then the stars would start winking out. Windows would disappear before his eyes. Branches would disappear from trees. He would look down at his hands to find only 2 fingers and a thumb. Everything would vanish until he was nearly a nearly limbless torso stuck in the last containment cell in the universe, typing the last article with a vanishing keyboard. Then his eyes, computer, and last remaining finger would vanish, and he would be an eyeless, earless, nose, mouthless, limbless, naked torso. Then the containment cell would vanish, and the universe would wink out. That only sort of happened. I wasn't really sure how to pull the concept off, so I turned to a new idea. Someone suggested a twist on SIDS. What is SIDS?
Sudden infant death syndrome.
Okay, so I did SIDS as an anti-mimetic birth defect that made parents perceive their kids were always facing backwards. Also, I incorporated somebody else's idea of a computer program that was calculating ridiculously large primes, that made you also develop a numerology exhibitionism fetish. So I combined the two. Maybe the survivors of this birth defect also developed the fetish. Researcher Talloran was the lead researcher on the project. I couldn't make it worse. So the next work. I can't fucking read. So the next thing I had was an alternate mimetic version of a classical music album that made people who live in the central Pennsylvania region hate and grow obsessed everything I'd ever created for the Foundation, even the deleted things, and all the things that never made it to the main list of objects. Researcher Talloran was the first staff member to be killed by the memified maniacs. It was really, really stupid, but I couldn't get Researcher Talloran out of my head. For weeks and weeks, he just sort of stayed there, silently judging me. I would think about him during work, when I was supposed to be teaching small children to tap dance. I would think of him during school. I would spend psychology class trying to think of a scenario to put him in. I kept trying and trying. I was fast running out of time for anything of note to happen. Finally, something happened to me. At 1 in the morning, on March 24th, 2017, something had happened to me. I woke from a light slumber to find I couldn't move at all. I could barely even open my eyes. I couldn't breathe and found myself struggling to get the muscles working that would keep me alive. I laid there in bed for what felt like hours and hours of pain, and it's my muscles began to cramp and twitch. Then James Martin Talloran, level 3 researcher, rose up like the devil from the foot of my bed. He was this incomprehensible dark shape, but I somehow recognized him instantly. He stared at me with these horrible glowing eyes and just laughed and laughed at my condition. I wet the bed at that point. Then from his lab coat, he pulled out a giant gleaming curved dagger. It was glinting oddly in the moonlight. As I watched, he stuck the dagger in his mouth and sliced horizontally. His lower jaw fell to the floor, despite the impossibility of the cut being that powerful. What remained of his mouth dripped blood and his tongue flopped weirdly in the red waterfalls. Like a whistle beckoning dogs, this was a cue for all terrors of the world to come pouring out of every nook and cranny to join Talloran in there. It was all the nightmares I had spent a better part of a year immersed in. Sliced presidents, unstoppable lizards, clockwork people, iPods, dear gods, moving statues, old men, good and bad, all standing silently, a crowd of horror. They looked contemptuously at me lying unmoving in my piss and shit-stained bed. Why would you bother your time with us? In the grand scheme of things, we are ultimately nothing. Idiotic horror creations. You have so much more you could be than a creator of garbage like us. Be somebody, I seem to hear them say. As they stared, one of them, a rotting corpse thing, patted Talloran over on the shoulder. He took the dagger stained in his own blood and leaned over me. His red eyes stared into my soul and saw each and every bad thing I'd ever done. I gulped and summoning every ounce of will I could muster into my muscles. I made my lips move. Do it. He plunged a dagger into my stomach and ripped it sideways. My intestines spilled out onto the floor like a wet sponge. Researcher Talloran's grotesque maw dripped and splattered blood on my face as he leered over me. With the whole collective abortion of creatures watched smugly. I woke up. It was a dream. And this is where you come in. I sat down and wrote this whole thing then and there. I just had to. It felt right. It's currently been about 2 days since that nightmare, and I'm only just finishing up. This is the ultimate end. This is the restoration of things. I don't know whether I can continue from here. I don't know whether I will. The 11th day Empire melted me, and I submitted. You watched me submit from the moment I joined the Foundation community. SCP-3999 has won. SCP-3999 has lost.
I hate myself. I love my life. Item number, SCP-399. Object classed, neutral. Special Containment Procedures. 399 was contained at Site-118 in an airtight Keter containment cell. 4 armed guards were found stationed outside this containment cell. The interior of the containment cell consists of a kilometer-long shaft into the earth, coated with acid-resistant plates. Every 30 meters, the walls are lined with Scranton reality anchors, all of which appear to have violently exploded. There's little information containing other procedures relating to SCP. SCP-399 was apparently a Keter-class object, possibly an entity of some kind. It is currently unknown what other properties 399 might have had. 3999, containment chamber was discovered during a routine inspection of all Keter-class containment chambers at Site-118. RISA has confirmed that no records of 399 within the database, and all information concerning the nature of it has been determined based on the containment chamber's composition and recovered documentation from it. The 4 guards assigned to 399 have found to have significant memory loss and could not determine how they got into 3999. At the bottom of 399's containment chamber, the corpse of Level 3 researcher James Talloran was found. Researcher Talloran had disappeared almost directly following reassignment to Site-118. The Foundation assigned cell phone was found on his body, containing only a text resembling a containment sheet procedure for SCP-399, but with many stylistic deviations and nonsensical procedures, as well as redacted information concerning the nature of the Foundation. From it had been determined that researcher Talloran was assigned to 3999. 3999 had significant reality warping properties. It breached containment at some point and caused either a CK-class reality restructuring event or a ZK-class end-of-reality event. It was successfully terminated by researcher Talloran at the cost of his own life, reversing said event. Addendum 1, data expunged. Data expunged, and that's all I wrote. And then there is a little passage in Indian, which I found is a quote from The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot, which translates to give, be sympathetic, and control. What'd you think?
That's crazy. That's insane. This feels like a love-hate story of the author just like dumping his emotions into everything about SCP, everything he's ever written, everything he's ever read, whether he loves that he's done it or that he hates that he's done it.
Yeah, I love the thing of these two people, Talloran and 399, having just such animosity to each other. They're just going at each other, rewriting and fixing the article to try to fuck everyone over, and then at the end, Talloran wins and takes out 399.
I think it's such an interesting thing in the sense of like a meta standpoint, in the sense of the author, like the way he writes it. Like, not only is it the two, like, the two, fucking whatever you want to call them, the two members, I suppose, fighting each other, like the SCP and Talloran, but also just the author kind of fighting with himself. I think it's really, really interesting.
I think, because I remember when the 3000 series came out, and basically what happens at the beginning is there's a contest where, like, you enter in a bunch of SCPs, and the winner gets to be the 1000, and then the rest get straight up. I think this was submitted in the contest, and this is the one I think I wanted to win.
Yeah.
I know I was very disappointed in what ended up being SCP-3000. It's a good SCP. We'll get around to it at some point. But this one was my favorite out of the one.
Yeah. No. This is sick.
Yes, this is really good. And I hope somewhere down the road,
I think
Talloran makes his reappearance, because he's a badass.
Yeah, I think in the sense of like an author just spilling his guts, this may be one of the best things I've read in a long time. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's all we wrote. Metaphorically, that's all we have.
That is
for
all we
this
have
episode
today. I hope you all have a happy Halloween.
Don't drink too much.
I would hope we have a happy Youmacon by the time you've watched this.
Not me. I'll be at work.
Yeah, he'll be at work, and also in another state.
That too. But yeah.
Well.
Thank you for watching our Halloween special. Come back next week.
Except for SCP-399. Fuck SCP-399.
Hell yeah.
I hope someone finds his sister and shoots her in the head with a Remington 700 sniper rifle with a silencer.
Isn't that what we don't want to happen? Isn't that Talloran's sister?
I said 3999's sister.
But